Okay. Here we go. Let's stretch. So with the feet a little distance apart, wider than hip distance. Let's open the arms in this kind of diagonal shape, palms forwards, but with a slight tilt in the tailbone. Squeeze your glutes, and we're reaching those two directions. And from here, drop the right ear down to the right shoulder. So a real stretch from the top fingertips to the lower fingertips. Feel this opening across the chest. A little bit of a lean to the right. Keep that two-way stretch going, lengthening the side of the body. We're also relieving the side of the neck. You can turn the head to face the floor if that feels a little bit nicer, but start to feel this left hip opening up a little bit. Keep the top shoulder reaching up and back. So we're lengthening, opening across the chest, those postural muscles getting a nice opening here. And then we slowly come up, windmill the arms, and let's take it to the other side. So the arms are stretched, slightly back, bottom slightly tucked, so avoiding that lower back arch, and stretching wide. Place the head where you're getting a nice release in the side of the neck, definitely no forcing. So we're pausing long enough to first of all breathe into these right ribs, and then start to feel that stretch coming down into the right hip. Breathing deeply, so stretching wide, slightly back, spreading the skin on the palms of the hands. One more breath here, and then coming center. Bend the knees and shrug out the arms and the knees. We're going to take like a baby warrior one pose. So let's take the feet maybe 2 feet apart, 2-3 feet apart, toes pointing in the same direction. If you have your right foot forward, the left leg at the back. Now, if we were taking a warrior one, we'd take a bend into the front knee. And let's get a pelvic tilt here. So we get a hip flexor stretch on this left leg. Shoulders back and down and long through the back of the neck, chin into the neck. Now, we've talked about that pelvic tilt. If the pelvis is a bowl of water, just have a go at tipping water forwards and then tipping water out of the back of the pelvis. It's at that point, tipping water back, that we're getting this hip flexor stretch. If we have both sets of toes pretty much pointing forwards, that back leg straight, we may be getting a little bit of a calf stretch in the back. So let's pause here to press now the feet down and slightly away from each other. So you're pressing the back heel into the floor. And now, as if you're pressing the feet down and together, straighten the front knee. So both legs straight. So we're going between those two positions. Press down through the feet and away, softening the front knee, back leg stays straight. And then the same, press down and draw. This time thinking about pelvic floor, squeezing everything in, up, navel under the spine. So let's have twice more like this. We can add on warrior one, arms here with the front knee bent, feet pressing down and away. So by pressing away, you almost feel as though your shin is pressing into a wall, this posterior chain of muscles at the back, really engaging. Here, as we pull together, zipping everything up. Still got a little bit of a pelvic tilt. Think water out the back of the pelvis. And last time, pressing the feet apart, so strong through the legs. And then sucking everything in and up. So to keep the same distance between the feet, we can just pivot on the balls of the feet and switch sides. So setting up with the other side, hips are square to the front. And we'll take a bend into the front knee, back leg straight. First of all, find that pelvic tilt a few times forwards and backwards, and we'll pause where we have a nice stretch in the front of this other hip, the right hip, if you're mirroring me. So tailbone pointing down towards the floor, and we press down through the feet and away from each other. And then activating the legs the other way, press down and together, but this time straightening the leg, like we're scissoring those thighs together. So with the breath, you can press down and apart. And then breathing in, press down and together. We can have the arms lifted, the shoulders nicely back and down, sinking only through the front knee to press apart. And then pelvic floor, draw everything in and up. Feel length. If your arms are lifted, reach to the ceiling. Last time. So if this is a bit too much on the Achilles tendon at the back of the calf, you can slightly lift the heel. Amazing. Float the arms down and let's just kick back with the legs. For a twist for the spine, we're going to take it nice and easily initially. We'll have a sway, sway, and then knee lift, sway, sway, knee lift. It's opposite arm to knee. So that we get that twist in the lower spine. Starting to think about our balance. A little bit more dynamic, we can have that Ganesh hold so that we have more active twisting through the arms, the sides of the body, to decide how vigorously you want to waken up those muscles of the core. Last couple of times. Great. All right, let's hula hoop out the hips, legs open wide and drawing a nice big circle with the pelvis on the floor. Pausing at any point, particularly the backs of the legs may need a little bit of a pause, a bit more breath. Inner thigh. When you've completed that circle, let's take it the other way. So the next position we'll take is the goddess squat. So that's legs wide. So if you want to briefly step the feet together just to rest out, that's fine. But then our setup is feet open wide, toes pointing out. As usual, mindful of the knees. So let's bend the knees and check that we haven't got too excessive a turnout in the feet. So if the knees are dipping in, let's turn those toes forwards a little bit. So knees tracking over the toes. Okay, reach over head, take a big breath in, and as you breathe out, let's take those cactus arms like you're on a pull-up bar, create fists, feel the shoulder blades come together, knees open wide, try to have the tailbone pointing down to the floor, knees open wide. So breathing in, tall, squeeze the glutes, lengthen, even a little bit of a sway here. The breath out, shoulders back and down. Immediately feel that pelvis coming up to the ribs. Think about a vertical line of the body. So try to avoid leaning forwards. Maybe stop here. We don't need to go so far down if that means we lose. So let's get the core muscles warmed up. Once more like this, and then we're going to work the arms in a static goddess pose. Shoulders back and down, elbows wide. Find your position so we can just take the hips side to side and then settle where we feel the knees are comfortable. Extend the arms, palms facing the wall behind you, thumbs down to the floor. Take 10 pulses. Let's keep that core engaged. And gently, 10, 9. If you can, use an out breath as you press back. So it's a fairly shallow breath, but we've got the strength of that exhalation to push back. We're slightly internally rotating the shoulders here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Same thing, but with the palms facing down. Roll the shoulders back and down, reset, find that pelvic tilt, and a small movement, press down 10. Feel that shoulder blade squeeze, 8. Like there's a pencil there without dropping it. Try to think about the back of the head being in line with the back of the pelvis. Very easy to start dipping forwards. Squeeze the pencil. Tension right to the fingertips so that we're using the whole chain of muscles, strengthening the arms. I know this is tough on the quads, but we're nearly halfway through. Palms forward, so let's briefly straighten the legs. Have a little shimmy, reset. Okay, palms are coming forwards, but try to keep the pencil there. So we're working the stabilizing muscles of the shoulders. Navel to spine, 10, 9, 8, 7. Try not to clench the jaw here. So if you need to shake out the head just to release any tension there, that's all fine. Can we grip the floor with the feet to keep the leg muscles active? Pencil between shoulder blades. Fingers reaching the side wall, but the arms plugged into the sockets. 2, 1, last of all, palms facing up. And we're going to press down, back so the hands come down for 10, 9, pencil, long spine, back of the head, back of the pelvis. Chin tucked in towards the neck, so we lengthen the back of the neck. 6, 5, external rotation of the shoulders to turn the biceps up to the ceiling. 3, 2, 1. Last thing, hold the knees and take a little twist here. Ready for the last thing in this position. A couple of times side to side, so we're deepening that inner thigh stretch. We're also twisting the spine, which is always a nice thing to do when you've been working the core muscles. Here, hands can stay on the knees, or we can lift to strong arms. We're going to try to lift this right heel. So this way you might want to hold the knees initially and see if we can lift the heel up high. And then slowly with control lowering down onto the left heel. See if we can lift up high. So these, we're combining so many things here. These fire toes used in yin yoga just to get a little bit deeper or influence connective tissues right into the foot. Side to side, have one more set each side. And then option to shake out or have a go at lifting both heels. So we may be here. See if we can press into the floor. Squeeze the glutes and rise up through the heels. Squeeze, maybe sit a little bit lower. This is the last little push. And then stand tall. Brilliant. We can shake out the legs here. Okay, so today, not exactly a theme for the class, but 3 positions that we're going to kind of deconstruct or think about in a little slightly different way. The first is standing balance, the Garudasana eagle. Let's first of all place the weight into the left leg. I'm mirroring you. And then let's wrap the right leg around. Maybe your Garudasana, just a quick review, is this one. Maybe the toes stay on the floor. And that's fine, but your standing leg is bent, a little bit of a bend in that knee. So the toes are on the floor or we're fully wrapping. So just find which one you're going to go for. And the slight new or idea or suggestion anyway is getting some of the strength from our core, but also some strength from this wrapped leg pressing into the standing leg. So pull the hip points together, navel to spine. Toes on the floor in this kind of cross-legged position. Now press the ankle into the outer leg of that standing leg. If you've got the full wrap, it's the top of your foot pressing into the calf. So find a bit more active pressing of those 2 points into each other, then the navel to spine. And just see if that gives you a slightly different sense. So the strength between the foot and the leg, navel to spine. And if you have that, hold onto a chair, wall if you need, if you want. Left arm across the body, right arm across the body rather. Left arm on top, and then we can take eagle arms. Backs of the hands together or hands clamped together, up to you. So let's feel that connection between the foot and the leg. Maybe we sink a little bit lower, elbows lift up. So keep going back to that navel to spine, but then the connection between the foot of the lifted leg. Where is it in relation to the floor, if the toes are on the floor, on the back of the leg? Just to give you a bit of balance, strength from a little bit lower down the body, lower center of gravity. Pause, pause, pause. And then release. Brilliant. Shake out that leg that we've been standing on. The same to the other side. Let's plant our roots of the standing leg. We'll take a bend into the knee. So again, here it might be different on this side. So have a go at just the toe on the floor, see if that's enough of a challenge for your balance. But if it is, see if you can get the ankle bone pressing in to the outer leg of your standing leg. If we're wrapping, find that connection, the top of the foot against the calf. So find that connection, pushing into each other, then navel to spine. So we've got 2 points that we can rely on then for our balance. Don't worry if you're wobbling, if you have to come out and go in again, all fine. It's all part of concentration, giving the body a bit of a challenge. So we have the left leg on top, left arm on top, right arm crosses over, backs of the hands together, or the hands, palms find each other. So notice if you've lost a little bit of that strength between the foot of the lifted leg. See if you can re-engage. See if you can lift up through the pelvic floor and tummy bottom back to the spine. Elbows lifting towards the nose. We'll get that work, deep work into the shoulder blades as we're lifting up. Use the strength of the linked elbows. Just another breath, think about the 2 points of gravity that we have now. The foot of the lifted leg and your navel. And then that stretch up through the elbows. And then release. Amazing. Shake out that leg. It's quite tough on the ankle of the standing leg. Next, upward salutation. Sometimes we take a big inhalation for our sun salutations, and then we just use gravity to fall down. Let's have a look at it in a slightly different way. So let's plant the feet, yogi's choice, big toes together or hip distance apart. Let's find that Tadasana pose, tailbone pointing down to the floor so that we're as long as we can be, ears over the shoulders, not ahead of the shoulders. So if we take a deep breath in, lifting that reverse swan dive, the arms coming overhead. Notice how your front ribs flare, and we take that back bend. This is fine, but before we come to the forward fold, now let's try to push the ribs back in space so that we get that upper abdominal engagement, navel to spine, so that when we come down into our fold, we have this resistance, the strength in the abdomen, so we're not just giving into gravity. So, sounds easy, but let's go through those points. Reverse swan dive, the arms open wide. Here we can open across the chest, like a big yawn, stretch for the front of the body. Then either the hands in line with the shoulders or in prayer. Try to quieten down these front ribs and send the ribs back in space. Navel to spine, everything sucked in and strong here. Press the hands together in front of the body. Keep that abdominal strength engagement to come into your forward fold. Bow the head, fingers to the floor, and off we go again. Open the arms out wide, so press into all corners of the feet. Deep breath in. Urdhva Hastasana, or upward salutation. Feel that openness across the chest, but then actively draw the ribs here. Almost like you're the feeling of diving into a pool. Ribs come together, navel to spine, active through the arms, pressing even the fingertips together, all the way down into a fold. Bow the head, release the hands, and off we go. I'll just do 2 more. I could say do 21 to form a habit, but this is just to plant an idea. It's just a suggestion. Here, spine extension, but then upper abdominals, lower abdominals engaged so that we're strong and engaged, owning every bit of that forward fold. And we take the last time. Chest open wide, arms outstretched, wide wingspan, hands meet, ribs together, navel to spine, thumbs to heart center, into a fold, and then release the hands to the floor. This time let's soften the knees and rest with the chest on the thighs. We can have a little sway around. We can clasp the hands behind the back. Heels of the hands come together and maybe lifting the arms overhead. Take a breath here. Reaching the combined clasped fist up to the ceiling so that the shoulders are peeled back. Then release the hands down. We're rolling up through the spine. Head last to come up. Press into the feet, rolling up one vertebra at a time, building blocks. And at the top, roll the shoulders back and down. So we've done 2. The eagle, just thinking about using the foot. And now you're, from the mountain pose, trying to start to include that upper abdominal engagement. Okay, we're going to come down to a down dog. Now we've already talked about, let me just go over this again. When the arms are outstretched in a down dog, let's think about turning jaw lids away from each other. And you can remember this by thinking, the right one is a righty-tighty, and then the loosey left. I love that. So when the hands are on the floor, the intention is righty-tighty, loosey-lefty. And the next one I'm going to add on is bringing the forearms together. So let's roll down through the spine and walk forwards until we come to a down dog position. Let's have the index fingers pointing forward, so index fingers are parallel. Now claw into the fingertips, the underside knuckles of the hands, the heels of the hands. And now I think righty-tighty, loosey left. Yes. Without actually moving the hands. It's the engagement in the hands and the opening across the chest, so the shoulders, external rotation. Let's bend the knees. So let's go through our checkpoints. Fingertips, underside knuckles, heels of the hands, twisting those jaw lids. Now press down into the hands, and as if you're trying to draw those parallel forearms towards each other. Just feel how much stronger the position is. And with the knees bent now, with these strong, strong arms, lift the sit bones up the wall behind you and start to get more length in the spine. Breathe deeply, turn the jaw lids, claw into the fingers. So we've got external rotation in the shoulders, the hands fully engaged. Forearms drawn together. Very quickly, you can see how we get toned arms just by the way we hold ourselves here. Again, I like to think about that sleeping child that you carry or an awake child. As soon as we have tension spread through the body, awake muscles, we're sharing the weight. We're working a lot harder, but we're not overstraining one particular part of the body. All right, you deserve a rest, so come down onto the knees. If you can keep your toes tucked, fire toes, and sit back on the heels, and let's circle out the wrists. Otherwise, you can release the toes and take a classic child pose. Amazing. Seemingly simple or everyday yoga postures. You start to layer on very quickly. You're melting. Brilliant. We're going to come onto our bellies. So we're going to think about lengthening, and we'll start with the legs and shimmy forwards. So we can start resting the head on stacked hands, and we're simply going to take turns to lift one leg, lengthen like you're trying to reach the wall behind. You see how the hips come out of alignment there, reaching back and lower the leg. So side to side, lengthening, stretch, and replace. Now we can make this more dynamic with the upper body, with the opposite arm lifting, reaching away from each other, and feeling that little bit longer as we replace the hand and foot down. Forehead to the floor, so the back of the neck stays long. We're reaching, so it's an oppositional stretch, opposite hand, opposite leg, lengthen and lower. Now let's add on a pressing of the pelvis into the floor. So we don't want any excessive arching of the spine, the lower spine. It's length rather than height that we're going for. Last couple, let's have another 2 sets each side. Trying to breathe space into every joint that's involved here. If you're using your arms, then think about the tiny joints in the hands, into the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder, along the spine to the opposite hip, knee, ankle, right down to the toes. How much space can we create? So creating a gentle tension into the connective tissue right across the body. And then lengthening, softening. We're on the last set. And then if you feel you need a little child pose, this time we can make it an extended child pose, sitting back on the heels. Now we can fingertip, spider tip the fingers forwards and feel a lengthening, release in the back. Take a breath here. And when you're ready, we're coming onto our backs for a double leg stretch. We've not done this for quite a while. So let's make sure the spine is in the right position to carefully, safely strengthen our abdomen. So start with the knees tucked into the chest, a little rock on the spine, always feels nice. Right, with the spine really long, let's press the backs of the arms into the floor and start to extend the knees away from the chest. It's an experiment for this first one, see how far you can go without creating an arch in the spine. If you've already got an arch here, draw the knees in. Try again. So just play around with how far you can extend without arching the spine. So when we have our position, make a mental note how far the knees are. So for me, it's here. We'll extend the arms overhead, straighten the legs. And then as we breathe out, angel wing the arms down, bend the knees and tap the outer knee. So we're maintaining the same position in the spine, the same core muscles are engaged. That's kind of an isometrically strengthening when we pause in this, but we're changing the load on the core by extending away from the center and drawing in. Every time we tap the outer knees, it's an opportunity to reset, because we may gradually start to lose that connection between the spine and the mat. Keep thinking about length in the tailbone. Option to lift the upper body so that we have a curl up. If there's any discomfort in the neck here, best just to leave the head on the floor. Sometimes quite good to be able to check that the abs aren't ballooning out. Taking a big stretch, so that sense of stretching from the toes to the fingers, we incorporate that here. And for the last couple of rounds, let's just add on a little bit of work for the thighs, pressing the hands into the knees into the hands, squeeze. We can breathe into the extension, we breathe out, hands to the outer knees, press, bigger squeeze in the abdomen, press, 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 empty the lungs. Last 2 times. Deep breath in to extend, breathing out, navel to spine, still long tailbone, shoulders down away from the ears, press, empty the lungs, squeeze lower abdominals. Last time. Deep breath in. Breath out. Press. Last big squeeze. And then release, knees into the chest. To finish off, we're going to go over that fetal position. And then as if we're a puddle, we keep as much contact with the floor as possible. We spread into a wide star. And then arm overhead into a fetal position on the other side. So here, the back of the head stays in contact with the floor throughout. We're just rolling on the back of the head. So this should give the neck an opportunity to relax. This arm's wide open here. An opportunity for the shoulders. Now don't force through any movement that feels too tight. We can keep a bend in the elbows. We don't have to keep contact with the floor. But as time goes on with practice, we can press into the floor the whole way, side to side. Incorporating this big wide star, legs open wide. This is the last thing we're doing. So just enjoy this release for the whole body. It's almost like taking a morning stretch and yawn that you may not have given yourself first thing this morning. Going to say the last time each side, and then we'll hug the knees into the chest and pause before coming up to sitting. At the end, we hug the knees into the chest, little rock on the spine, maybe circle the base of the spine, and then hold it behind the knees, or rolling to one side, come up to sitting. And let's just take a deep breath in, stretching overhead, hold the opposite hand. Breathe out, softening the arms down, shoulders down. Brilliant. Good stuff.